welcome you and all to another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast where we talk about Latino everything. Thank you very much for being here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you have not taken the opportunity and you want to support us, now is the time. Hit the subscribe button. Thank you so much. You're doing an amazing thing for us, and it's free. Today, we have an amazing individual, as we always have. We have a gentleman that is a human performance coach. He is also the vice president and business strategist for Ninja Project. He has an amazing, crazy healthcare story and recovery that you want to hear. Stay tuned. We have Jose Benitez en la casa. Hello, sir. How you doing today?
Well, I don't know what else I can say to that, that type of introduction, but glad to be here.
I don't know if you knew it, but it's all you. It's all you. I just found all the information about you. I talked to you before. We had an interesting conversation at one time.
Yeah.
And we had a moment of time, and at that moment of time, we were just sharing stories, and I thought it was like, wow, this is freaking amazing. I have to have it here. I have to tell it. But first, before we get to that, we're going to start with a segment that I like to call Preguntas al Chile.
Preguntas al Chile.
Tacos o tortas?
Tacos.
Corn tortilla or flour tortilla?
Man, mom's gonna hate me for this, but flour tortillas.
Yeah, your mom likes corn better.
Yes, no, she'll hand make them from scratch and whatnot,
nice.
And so, but they're off the chain, of course.
Man, homemade tortillas that's just levels.
I know, right?
That's upper level.
Yeah.
Gorditas or pupusas?
That's another good one. I'm gonna have to go with pupusas on that one.
Pupusas, yeah. Mexican coca, jarrito. Do you drink soda? Do you care for it? Prefer water?
Can't go wrong with a Mexican soda.
Yeah, Mexican coca. Horchata, Jamaica, or tamarindo? Water.
Ooh.
Aguas frescas. Not spa water. Aguas frescas.
Definitely have to go with horchata on that one.
Horchata, nice.
Yeah.
Menudo or pozole?
Ha! That's a no-brainer. Pozole.
Pozole all day.
Yeah.
Valentina, Tapatio, Cholula, hot sauce, or Tabasco?
Oh man, that's gonna be a loaded question or a multi-answer question. I'd have to go with Cholula first, and then I'd have to go with Valentina second.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. Cumbia dancing, salsa dancing. What do you prefer?
I can move to salsa, but cumbia, it's one of those things where I want to get more involved with.
Yeah, more free-flowing. You can freestyle with it.
Yes.
Okay. This is way different from all the other ones. Not even close to. I like the question because it's cool. And Carlos, shout out to the homie. Him and I used to entertain it. Conspiracy theories.
Okay.
So, a conspiracy theory that you heard one time, when you heard, you're like, the likelihood of that being true is like really high.
Yeah.
What would that be?
Well, now knowing what I know about the world, 9/11.
9/11?
Yeah.
It's funny business feels like.
Well, the more that you know about the, government and how they run, how it's operate and whatnot, it doesn't seem too unimaginable that they might have had like foreknowledge about that as far as that goes. And so, but anyways, I'm not the conspiracy theorist. My brother is.
So he's the one that put you on game. Like, hey, have you seen this before?
I kid you not. We used to, growing up, he'd sit there and like he made me sit there and watch conspiracy theorist videos with him about stuff like that. And they just, when you asked that, I was just like, yeah, I kind of directly went to that.
That's cool. When you first hear the word Latino, Latina, Latinx, what's the very first thing that comes to mind?
Yeah, so Latinx is kind of a new phrase as far as that goes, But I think about my family most importantly, kind of their origin and just kind of how they've always stayed united as a whole or a family as far as that goes. Come from a pretty big family on my mom's side, and so I've always kind of seen that consistently, when it comes to that.
Yeah, so family, unity, things like that comes to mind with that.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Do you consider yourself Latino? Do you prefer to be called Latino? Do you care? Do do you mind at all if anybody calls you like that? Do you prefer American, whatever the term do you would prefer, or does it matter?
Well, I would say that I have more association with it today. Just given my age, it's not something that I would say that I grew up with it having as like a part of my origin or like
Yeah.
history, so to speak. And so I did when I was like fairly young. Because
Yeah.
obviously we were always kind of close with our relatives as far as that goes. And then as we got older, I think it was like when I was like sixth grade, we ended up moving to kind of the suburbs, kind of completely
Wow.
changed it as far as that goes, and really the trajectory of like my life at the same time. And so, but it wasn't until after once I was getting back on my feet from this health scare, really kind of started to get more, I guess you'd say, more in touch with my grassroots, so to speak. And so, or more. Combination with just like learning more about like Hispanic culture,
Gotcha.
just like different cultures overall. I was working for one of my old clients who's an orthodontist, and so he's got patients of all different ethnicities, mostly Hispanic, of course, and so but as well as the staff there as well, and so it was a fun time to being able to kind of familiarize myself with it.
That's cool. Let's touch up just slightly on it, just from my curiosity. Your parents Mexican? Are you first generation, second generation that you know of?
I'd probably say second generation.
Okay. Do you happen to know where your grandparents were from, Mexico or from somewhere else in the Americas?
Yeah, no, I know they originate from Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my dad's side of the family, they come from San Luis Potosí.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my mom's side, they're from Irapuato, Guanajuato.
Oh, nice. Beautiful places. Have you ever visited as a child? Did you ever, even as an adult, did you ever wanted to check it out to see what it's like?
I haven't been back. I went there a few times when I was a kid.
Cool.
And I can just remember vaguely just like bits and pieces of it as far as that goes. But I've been interested in returning.
That's cool. All right. So whenever you were talking about earlier that you had a change and you went to the suburbs, where were you at, and what was the shock mostly to you as far as the environment being different compared to what you were used to?
Yeah, so it was completely, of course, like a huge culture shock. I grew up in Aubrey, Texas, and so when we first moved out there, there was literally just nothing but land, for miles in front of you as far as that goes.
And
so,
cows? A lot of cows, or not really?
No, we grew up next to a lake, and so when me and like kids that I grew up with, as far as I guess, we'd go out there and explore and just play and whatnot. And so, but that was pretty much the combination of it as far as that goes. It was kind of right around the time when I was entering seventh grade, and so it was a different. Looking back at it now, I'm thankful that we made those adjustments, because I look at my life as a whole, and contribute to the my life in it, or being the way it is today because of that.
That's cool.
Or changes like that.
Take me back whenever you were going in the country and in the woods, kind of exploring. Does it feel to you like time passed slower, faster?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. You don't have a worry in the world. You don't have to worry about bills, or you don't have to worry about, any sort of like, just situations coming up as far as that goes.
Yeah.
And so you can just like roam around and be happy.
What was the biggest shock whenever you moved that you realized, even though as a kid, you realize, oh, this is not where I used to grow up at? Even though, yeah, there's more opportunities. I guess I don't know if you understood it as a kid, but just itself, whenever you kind of realized, it came to the realization, I am, like, which says this is not Kansas no more.
Yeah, no, I think that probably came to me like my freshman year of high school, so to speak, because it was like seventh grade when we moved in there, went to a different school, eighth grade, and then finally when high school came around, it was like 4 consistent years of like going to the same school as far as that goes. And so I think that was probably where I noticed the most drastic change as far as that goes. And I think it was more so being receptive to just like being around a variety of different people ongoingly as far as that goes, or different types of like people who have different thoughts or beliefs as far as that goes, or just
Different world at that time.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when you were, as far as schooling, colleges, things like that, were your mom ever supported? Did they want you to push a certain direction? Was there anything in mind growing up as you were exploring maybe high school that you wanted to direct your attention to, maybe focus on?
Yeah, and unfortunately, I never really had support kind of for school as far as that goes, where it's like fast forward today, I'm a huge advocate for education in general. And so I look back at it and, I don't look down on it, but I wish, someone might have been more encouraging. Whereas today, I place that as a forefront of like my priority, when it comes to just my life in general.
Okay. So did you attend a college at all? Were you ever
I
self-taught?
attended a semester at a community college, but that was the extent of my education as far as that goes.
Okay. But as from my understanding, as far as talking to you, you're a firm believer in education in different ways, as far as self-taught and different things like that, correct?
Well, you can consider it self-taught. Just given my career, nature of my career, there's always a demand for continuing education, and just the former job that I had, they had curriculums structured for employees, so it was just something that was always a part of my life. And so after 5 years of having that consistently in your life, it ends up being ingrained into who you are.
Okay. So how is it that you get into being a human performance coach or a counselor, or as far as right before you jumped into this opportunity you're working on with Ninja Project? What was it that you were doing, and how did that come about?
Yeah, so I worked at a gym for 5 years. It was called Equinox, and so it was a great opportunity for me, just going into the world. Actually, kind of going back to what you mentioned earlier with that first move, it was kind of similar in resemblance to it, where it's like it opened my eyes to a whole new world, just vast new opportunities, and just a different way in which I could just explore opportunities as far as that goes. And so. I liked it because it was based off of your own merit, so to speak, your ability to be able to perform. It was really the first time where I walked in somewhere and I was like completely, overwhelmed, because I was shocked at what I was seeing in terms of just like the way in which trainers were working with clients. It was so new to me. But I embraced it wholeheartedly, and it was just like a nothing but positive experiences for me after that.
Did you want it to be somewhat of an instructor when you were growing up at all? Was there something that drew your mind, or did you just like to be active and hit the gym?
Yes. No, I knew kind of like, I don't know why my first job within the fitness industry. So I've worked within the industry for about 11 years now.
Wow.
And it was my first job working for a local gym. I remember I like hounded them for a job, like submitted them for like a resume, and then I called them probably like 10 or 15 times, after the fact. I was like, hey, can I get a job? Can I get a job? Can I come in and train? And the rest is history after that.
That's cool. So Equinox is your first gym opportunity? Was it the other one?
No, so I worked probably for, 3 different gyms before I worked at Equinox. And actually, when I came to there, it was more of a career focus, because I had mostly done sales historically within the gyms. And then I decided I wanted to go into being a trainer. And the kind of rest is history after that.
So you work on your certifications to be a trainer. Was it hard for you to obtain that, go through courses, or is somewhat of something that it's kind of easy for you to get because that you want to do this now?
Yeah. So at first, I'm not gonna lie, it was somewhat difficult. Kind of like I mentioned, I wasn't a good student going through high school or college. I always found it difficult, unfortunately, to like focus on just kind of subjects at hand. But when I found like kind of what I was passionate about, it possessed this challenge in terms of just like developing the mindset or the habit around it. But then once I did, I never stopped.
Yeah. Okay. What was the most challenging thing that you had to do just to try to get over that hump of realizing you want to be a trainer, but you also have to kind of sort of be aligned with that yourself, right? Because you can't. People have expectation for you to be fit, look a certain way, to be able to even trust you, to be able with their bodies, to be able to have lose weight or any type of goals that they have for their bodies.
Of course.
So what was the most challenging thing for you?
I had to be able to be a walk-in representation of that as far as that goes. And so it took me probably the first 2 years when it came to just the proper education, being able to develop myself internally and being able to be a walking representation of that as far as that goes. And then after a while, you naturally develop your a belief system around it to where you with certainty that like, hey, give me a chance, I can help you with your situation.
How long did it take for that belief system to play its part in you and realize that, after putting in so many hours of discipline, and I don't know how many times you were working out a day, that you kind of realized, I got it now?
So I'll tell you, I'll kind of sidestep for a second. I'll tell you that, and of course, like there's those traditional areas that, people seek help for, like in terms of like nutrition, exercise, maybe mentorship as far as that goes. And so outside of those different areas, I've focused more on the mindset, the belief, and then just being able to like build myself in those different areas. And so there was a lot of, how should I say, like a shaping that I had to develop mentally in order for me to be able to ensure, because even within that environment itself, there is no guarantees that, let's say, you'd have opportunities. And so I was actually recognized several times for my ability to be able to bring new and old, let's say prospects into training with me, and then being able to turn nothing into opportunities ongoingly. And it was after, I would say 5 years of just continuing work relentlessly outside of like my training career and working on developing areas of like self-improvement and
Okay, but nothing else super challenging that you have to surpass, like, besides the fact that you just kind of sort of have to make it a habit after a certain amount of time and just start kind of sort of going on autopilot and just keep showing up?
Well, I mean, aside from that, yes, I have my own, how should I say, my own like life histories that I had to also kind of like take into consideration as well. There are certain areas of my just like personal development that I had to like continuously work on, so to speak. And so there's the thought of, because this was a real thing for me. I often had like, what's the word it's called? I can't remember the technical term, but like, what's the word?
As far as believe? Or?
Yes, belief.
Okay.
Like being able to have that belief in yourself. Imposter syndrome, that's what it was. And being able to have that and just like being able to know where it originated from as far as that goes. And so after a while, of course, I'm just doing, just working on myself in areas like emotionally, mentally, as far as that goes, you start to realize, how your origin plays a factor in your development as a human. And so, of course, as I was working through my career, that was kind of something I also started to focus on. And so whether it was getting involved in like groups or just like personally working on myself and actually making those investments, I started to realize, like, as I did all of that simultaneously, all at the same time, my life drastically just changed for the better.
Did it kind of like you just kind of sort of made your way to make that decision, or at one time did you have any like an epiphany of like, I'm doing all this physical stuff, but my mental maybe is not aligned to where I need it to be there? Yeah. Was there a particular moment that happened, or did you just kind of transition to
No,
that needed?
there definitely was. I had an unfortunate kind of like just place in my life back in 2016 where it was actually it involved my parents. My dad, he was put in a really bad, really horrible situation as far as that goes. And so pretty much everything that they had worked towards had been kind of taken from them. I kind of lost someone who meant a lot to me at that point. And, that pretty much gave me the drive, so to speak, to pretty much overcome any sort of obstacle that was in my way, and so that fire kept me going for years as far as that goes.
Awesome. Was there any, I know you join groups and different things like that. Was there any counselor, any motivational videos, or anything that kind of sort of helped you stay in that lane as far as focusing on getting better mentally?
Absolutely. So I got involved with the church back in 2018. That was kind of like the first step in being able to, I guess you say, like improve my areas like mental health.
Yeah.
After a while, there's like mentors that, kind of just showed up in my life naturally as far as that goes. And then when I got involved with my therapist, that made a huge change for me because I was able to kind of work through some of those areas as far as that goes. And as I started doing so, I really started to notice an impact in my just life changing as far as that goes.
Yeah. I don't know if you know this, but some Latino men, not every single one, sometimes they want to portray us as macho man or things like that. And there's some individuals that grew with certain beliefs, right?
Absolutely.
But being able to be somewhat vulnerable and able to accept the fact that you are able to seek help and get help is frowned upon. Was there any of that stuff that you had to battle with at all to, make your community, the Latino community, might seem like, what are you doing going to see this person?
Yeah.
Was there anything of that?
Well, I'll tell you this. So I definitely grew up kind of with that notion, so to speak, just because of my father's origin and kind of how he carries himself naturally as a person. And so that was kind of the first step when I first started, I guess you say, seeking help for myself. And so I started to realize, kind of how my origins impact my my health and just my overall way of being as far as that goes. And so when I decided to make the adjustment, I went kind of full in as far as that goes and my commitment. And plus, as I was making these adjustments, I was introduced to like new environments that ultimately ended up becoming my way of living, you know, as far as that goes. And so the good thing about it was throughout all this transition period is that there was nothing, how should I say, that like I didn't have anything to cling on to, you know. And so when I dove in head first. And that was kind of the same thing with my career, same thing when it came to my relationships. And then ultimately, I was very fortunate in the sense that like I had some really good people in my life who just like went out of their way to help me and who ended up influencing me and like shaping my path. And to this day, you know, I credit a lot of my success to them.
That's awesome. Was there any mentorship that you were seeking? Is anybody kind of sort of that you ran into that have been doing it for some time? Not just in the business aspect, but in general in life.
Yes.
You saw that they were kind of sort of making it happen and you wanted to be, you know how they were doing it.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a lot of, I got to a point when I was training in my career where I looked up and I respected, you know, a lot of the people who I worked with, you know, in terms of colleagues. I respected a lot of the members who I came in contact with or, you know, even had the chance to work with. And so I think the one thing that I enjoyed about it is that, like, you know, I had to earn all these different opportunities that came to me. It didn't just come to me naturally as far as that goes, from like, you know, obstacles that maybe I was already faced with and just like being able to develop myself to then actually having the credibility to be able to deliver results. And so those things just naturally developed over years. You know, it didn't come to me just like it is today as far as that goes. And so, but with the opportunities that I did get for people who were interested in investing into me, that was something that came like that was not natural, you know what I mean? And so for people to actually come into your life for the first time and then be able to, for them to actually want to be involved with some of the stuff that maybe traditionally people don't want to know about, you know what I mean? And so made the world for me, you know?
Do you think being in that type of environment, especially the area that you went to work first, that kind of course there's competition, different things like that, but just being around that environment with people that want to do better for themselves kind of helped you and pushed you to keep being better and getting better?
Oh, absolutely. You know, that's one thing I loved about training at Equinox is that it was that, you know, you had the environment that constantly supported that idea, so to speak. And then there was competition. I worked with some of the best coaches in my opinion in the country. As far as that goes, they were all housed in one place. You know what I mean? Preston Hall was known for it was always known as a flagship club within the company as far as that goes. And if you were recognized for achievements there, then obviously that spoke, you know, that resonated with folks.
That's awesome. Okay, before we get to the Ninja Project, we met. When we met, we just started talking. I don't know how even the conversation came to be, but you were talking about just coming off of something that had happened that not even the doctors could really understand what it was happening. And it caused a lot of things that you had to just pretty much rebuild, right? You had something going for yourself, and all of a sudden now you have to be almost rock bottom, you could say, and then you had to keep making your way back up. How can you tell me a little bit about what happened exactly?
Yeah, so at this point, I'm kind of self-diagnosing at this point just based off of the different diagnosis that I've had.
Because you were at the hospital, right?
Yes.
So you're not at the house trying to figure out. You were in the hospital, and the doctors can't really tell you what's going on.
Yes. So I'd had various different diagnoses, so to speak, and so just through my background, I kind of didn't necessarily accept kind of what I was given at that point because I knew that there was something else underlying me that was causing my symptoms, so to speak. And so luckily earlier this year, I was able to get on a peptide. It was called BPC 157 that helps to address your nervous system as a whole with its ability to be able to function and just to be able to repair itself. And as soon as I got on it, it changed it changed my life again, you know what I mean, for the better as far as that goes. And so as soon as I was able to get on that, everything that I'd been kind of dealing with all started to subside as soon as my nervous system started to improve and better.
Okay. So again, and I know it's just their doctor's opinion. I know it's not your reality, but what kind of terms were they throwing at you as far as what it was or what it could have been, and what exactly was it that you were dealing with whenever you were going through that?
Yeah. So the majority of the symptoms or diagnoses that I'd gotten were PTSD and schizophrenia as far as that goes. And so I guess part of it why I didn't necessarily, not that I didn't believe him. I definitely knew that there was like something wrong, so to speak, but they didn't take in consideration like the physical ailments that I was also dealing with. I was in a lot of pain physically.
What did it
Like,
manifest physically as far as what were you bedridden? Were you able to do anything? Were you losing your balance? What's
no,
happening?
so it was a combination of things. So that's partially how my career ended at Equinox, is because I got to the point where there were certain metrics that I was monitoring, and I saw like a continuous decline in my health. It was like month over month over month. And then finally, when I started to seek help, I didn't know what was actually happening to me. It wasn't like kind of like, oh, I feel bad, I need to go to visit the doctor. It was kind of like all of a sudden this something abruptly just started happening to me, and I had no clue how to be able to proceed forward with it. And so I obviously, given the resources that I had at that point, I decided to start seeking help and just try to figure out immediately kind of what to do as far as that goes. And that was kind of my whole thought process throughout my whole journey with my health scare was like figure out what's wrong, figure out how to be able to improve, and then actually try to heal of sort. You know what I mean? And so, but that was kind of a whole story behind that.
How many months before you realized that you were declining, and then how long were you pretty much? Again, I think you were bedridden. You were really not able to do day-to-day movement, day-to-day activities.
Yeah. So I had to quit my job it was like October 2021, and I would say like it was probably like 3 months before that is when I really started to notice that there was something wrong, so to speak. But I didn't. I thought that just with time, as far as that goes, I'd be able to be okay as far as that goes. And then I quit my job, didn't do anything, didn't work for probably about 6 months. I thought I'd give myself some time, based off the diagnosis that I was given at that point, and just decided for the first time in a while that I'm just going to enjoy life, and try to see if I can, make some time for myself and just kind of go, figure out what to do next as far as that goes. And unfortunately, like, my health just continued to decline. And so it was into 2022 till I went to the hospital, and then basically all of 2023 I was like in and out of hospitals, just trying to figure it out. And so it wasn't until kind of the middle of that year till finally I was able to start moving again, and then get my body back into somewhat of a routine, so to speak.
So they tested everything: blood, CT scans,
Yeah.
CT scans, whatever they're called, everything, and they still came down to something that they were saying it was mostly a mental thing, not necessarily, but it was manifesting physically.
Yes. And so a lot of my training right now that I'm doing physically in the gym is centered around like my balance, proprioception, coordination. And because of that, I've been able to notice huge improvements in my health continue as well.
So equilibrium was affected as well. even with
Absolutely.
everything.
Yeah. No, at one point I felt so disoriented and like so I thought it was like my vision at first, because I was like, what initially how it started was I felt like I was having like acute light sensitivity, and as I was like just normal everyday things that I was going through, it's like someone tried to say hi to me, and like all of a sudden there's like this flash of light. At the same time, I felt like my gut just started to like wrench, so to speak, or like tighten, and I just didn't understand what the cause of it was.
And was vertical? Anything of those tests were done at all? Maybe you were balancing or something.
No,
They checked for everything.
I'm gonna be able to further my kind of that just being able to look into the different areas as far as that goes here within the next couple of months as far as that goes. And so but I know that for the most part, like, I know that my health is trending in the right direction at this point. And
Awesome. When is it that you find that particular peptide? Who's the one that introduced you? Do you research some stuff? Do you look into Google or WebsMD, whatever the case might have been?
No. So I was actually, of all places, I was going to get an adjustment to the specialist who I was working with at that point. Kind of shared my a detailed history about kind of what I was going through. And just given the nature of his approach, he said, hey, I want to take more of a focus or take more of a holistic approach to your treatment outside of just making adjustments, so to speak. And so after we talked, he recommended that I look into BPC 157 along with a few other alternatives, so to speak. And as soon as I was able to get in contact with a great company, and just the credibility of the source alone after doing some research. As soon as I got on it, boom. It made a huge difference as far as that goes.
You can tell immediately?
Immediately. And that was the only thing that I've changed up to this point.
Okay. Alrighty, so you continue recovering. Now you're able to. How does it feel going back to the gym after many months of not able to make it? I don't know if you even attempted to make your way over there, even though you were going through the health, scared, and different things like that. Were you wanting to, had the urge to, and how did it feel when you actually made it to the gym?
Yeah, so there was a while there where probably about 18 months of hell, unfortunately, where I just sat there, you know what I mean, in bed, just like, you know, hopeless, so to speak, because everything I had worked for, you know, I felt like I'd been taken out of my hands, so to speak. And so I really didn't give any thought into kind of like doing anything at that point. I was definitely depressed. And so, but earlier this year, kind of around that same time, I just told myself, I was like, get up, you know? And so I went into the gym, and just to be able to start pedaling a recumbent bike was difficult, you know what I mean? But, you know, just good thing is that mentally I'd already gone through something like this before. And so being able to get myself back into that rhythm or attitude wasn't that difficult. And so it was a matter of just like creating that spark and then getting the fire going, and then just being able to ignite it daily, you know, to be able to get myself motivated to go in there again. And then as soon as I did, you know, I felt like something, like I had like a reaction out of my body. And since then I've been able to make tremendous progress to the point where it's like, I feel sharp again, you know, just like mentally. I know that like my, you know, my thoughts are just nothing but positive as far as that goes. I'm having, you know, just better outlooks on life in general, and I can see the difference as well.
Now, at that time, when do you start to begin to seek some kind of employment or opportunity or partner up, or how does that come about with Ninja Project? Is this something that you're seeking already? So happen to be that you have a conversation with somebody, all of a sudden there's an opportunity for the things that you know how to do to come and help another person out or another company out to do what you do?
Yeah, so when I was actually started when I was training at Equinox, I had long story short, just because of my curiosity. And
you can make it long, bro. So we got a little time.
Just because of my curiosity and just like the formats and the structures that were present there, I had essentially like developed and worked my way up to the ramps or up the ranks to their highest like level of training. And even at that point, you know, I was so involved in the process, so dedicated to what I was doing, that like it was like a platform that allowed for me to be able to like build these like inner strengths, inner talents, and skill sets that, you know, as a combination of all of it, systematically speaking, made it to where, you know, I was doing something that no one else had ever done before, and I was really happy about that. And so I really believed in what I was doing. You know, really wanted to make it to where, you know, I could be a walking representation of the brand, so to speak, especially with what we were doing at that level, and just ultimately being able to make a name for myself at the same time. And so as I was doing that, I got to this point where, you know, oftentimes whenever you spend a culmination of time doing something, you know, you get to a certain point where you start to have these thoughts of like, you know, I have ambition, you know what I mean? I can see a different way of this going, you know? And so, but I know just like the powers that be, so to speak, you know what I mean? My actual like reality of me being able to make those changes, you know, probably unlikely, you know what I mean? And so after I left, you know, there was different opportunities that came around where like gyms approached me about saying, hey, we'd like for you to be able to do this. We'd like to be able to partner up, and pretty well established gyms in the Metroplex as far as that goes, you know, where they gave me the chance or opportunity, and they said, hey, like for example, I had a sit down with a company that closed, but they wanted to come back, rebrand, and they wanted me to basically like open up, which were kind of like direct competitors with the former company. And so, but just given the scenario and just time that I was time with where I was at health wise, I was like, I can't do this. You know what I mean? I was like, it would have been a great opportunity as far as that goes, because I'd have to do pretty much, I'd have to bootstrap it all for the most part, but I knew that I would be able to. And so fast forward to today, that's exactly what I'm doing with the Ninja Project, where it's like we've been working on seeking investments and just being able to grow and build opportunities within the Metroplex, which we're doing at this point. And so it's on its way to be able to build a great brand, so to speak.
So how do y'all find each other? How do you find the other partner, your partner? I remember his name.
His name is Carson.
Carson. So how do you find Carson? How do y'all even begin the conversation of maybe helping each other to grow this?
Yeah. So kind of like how you and I met, we all like this place called the Kava Bar.
Shout out to the Kava Bar. I had 2 people so far, and then I'm working with one of them.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a great place for networking, and
Yeah.
they've got the great environment. They've
Yeah,
got
absolutely.
great drinks as well. And so for anyone who's looking for a social, non-alcoholic alternative, it's definitely a
Yeah,
great place to be in the
absolutely.
Metroplex as far as that goes. And so that's how we met. I'd see him working up there, just kind of like I was, and so I was working for an old client at that point, and so he had an orthodontics business, and I basically had, earned the chance to be able to help to grow the organization, help to grow the brand, and I was doing it. And so, but I kind of just because of my connections to the fitness industry, you know what I mean, I was missing home, so to speak, you know what I mean, and so I didn't know it at that time, but that's really what it was. I was missing my just missing the work that I had put into who I am at this point, you know what I mean? And so,
So things that were kind of sort of part of the identity up to a certain point, right?
yeah, absolutely. And so me and him got to talking, and it was probably, he gave me a listening ear, so to speak, and then basically I had to kind of show him what I was able to do, or what I was capable of doing at that point. And so, just through our continuing collaboration and work, we've been able to help to really establish and grow the brand here in the Metroplex.
You talking about his company or the Ninja Project?
Ninja Project, yeah. So Ninja Project is Carson's company as far as that goes, and so
That's not the chiropractor type.
No.
That's something different that you were helping him with, or did you help them at all with that business? Was it a chiropractor or was it
orthodontics.
Orthodontist, chiropractor. My bad. Sorry, babe. So you helped him with that company. That's not the name of the company, right? His company for the orthodontist, or he just does he have
before Carson and I were working together, I was working for an old client of mine who he manages an orthodontics business,
gotcha.
and so I've been doing that for probably about 6 or 8 months. And as I was doing that, I was often at the Kava bar, just working, just working on the business, so to speak.
What were you doing for them, or what exactly is it that you were doing for them as far as the things that you used to do? Was it social media? Was it different things that you were doing to help the business, bringing in clients, or what was it?
It was kind of a combination of between business development. So I was helping to grow certain elements, like I was bringing on people to help us with marketing or developing the socials. The most immediate areas were like lead generation, converting into sales opportunities.
Gotcha.
We rebranded the business, so to speak, with like physically helped build a digital presence. Presence. At the same time, I wanted to make a better work environment for the people who work there, so to speak. And so just given the uniqueness of the situation, he was interconnected with a whole network of other offices throughout the Metroplex with the whole team around it. And so it definitely helped whenever that building started to be able to produce income as well.
Nice. Okay. And then the Ninja Project. Is it something that he had been working already, Carson, or is it something that y'all started building from the ground up?
Yeah, so my understanding is he started it probably about maybe 3 or 4 months before my involvement.
And what is it exactly? Can you kind of explain this to the best of your abilities? What the Ninja Project is? What does it consist of? What is it? What is it exactly?
Yeah. So you probably are familiar with the television show, and for people who aren't out there, there's a television show called American Ninja Warrior.
Yep.
And basically what it is a combination of competitions between men and women of all ages who go on there and who want to be able to compete for the grand finale. Sometimes there are cash prizes involved. And Carson, he's been on the television show for a long time, and so he kind of used the credibility from the show as well as his own development within the sport, because there's ninja is its own sport, so to speak.
Nice.
And so he's got a lot of connections there, and so he wanted to be able to grow and kind of build his own brand. The one thing I realized about him, kind of just like myself, was we both have a passion for our industries, mine being personal training, and just there being standards and integrity behind what we do as far as that goes. And so we definitely resonated with, or been in alignment when it comes to that. And so as we've been working on developing the company, that's one of the things that we want to have at the forefront for the business, so that way anyone who gets involved, whether it's them hosting an event or hiring us to host an event, them coming in for a competition, or them just enjoying the actual obstacle course, there's a consistency when it comes to just how we do business with everyone who gets involved.
So is it like a place where you can go and do the course, the obstacle course, or is it something that for example, if I have a business and I want to bring more attention, I want to have y'all there. Y'all can build something makeshift, or not makeshift necessarily, but something that y'all could put together there that people can experience what it would feel like if you was to be, doing the actual course at a place.
Yeah. So our main services at this point, we have some residency programs or consistent pop-ups or permanent pop-ups that we're looking to form within Dallas and Fort Worth.
Awesome.
At the same time, we're also looking to establish like consistent or annual competitions that we'll host between Clyde Warren Park and the Fordplex in Melissa, Texas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and so the cool thing about the business is that it gears towards kind of a wide range audience. So I know that a lot of time people talk about who's your demographic.
Who's your demographic? Who's your niche? Who are you catering to? Everybody, all the Latinos, the whole world. But you can't, you kind of sort of got to narrow it down. But
yeah, so it's very sports specific by nature, but we make it really easy for people to get involved because of the level of the courses that we have. And so like these areas like in Fort Worth, or in Dallas per se, or even at our physical location that we're looking to open up and prosper, it'll be geared towards people who want to maybe make this as their way or like lifestyle for how they they get fit or how they improve their health.
Yeah.
And so we'll have the ability to be able to build like the community aspect of it. And so it'll have it, just kind of
all courses kind of sort of similar, or they all have their own identity of different things that they got put in there as far as just in general, just depending on the area. Some might have this, some might have that, or depending on the pop-ups, it might just have a smaller setup compared to a place that is like a building that has more stuff.
Assuming if we have the space requirements, we can really cater to all crowds. And so I'll give you an example. We did a major event for a church earlier this year. It was kind of they had a men's summit, and so we were part of the main attraction. And so any guy of any caliber was able to get on the course. We had coaches, including myself, kind of helping them through the course, so to speak. And then at the end, we had actual athletes who compete for the sport come in and put on a competition. And so that was kind of like one scenario. We also have done several private events for like schools, like one was an all-girls school, one was another private school in Dallas, so to speak. And so we were able to kind of put on just a show for them, or just develop or just have it developed for them, and then they were able to kind of just like build something out for themselves.
That's awesome. We have a potential client over there that might be running the course here soon. Him and myself. I don't know how we're gonna do, but it seems pretty cool. Like I don't know if anybody ever seen the Ninja, but some of the footage I think that we've seen is like it's wow to be able to run the course and get to just the whole thing and just get to the finish line. You have to be active, right? It's just part of a lot of people focus on the gym, exercise, and traditional stuff, but all these things right here are just like a different way of staying active and different way of exercising and getting in shape, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's part of what makes it fun as well. It's just like it is challenging, and but just like with anything, it's just like there's different levels of how people can get started. Whether it's like the beginner and just being able to make your advancements that way, or like if you're more advanced by nature, you enter the intermediate section of things, and then just really help to develop your skill sets as far as that goes. It's definitely fun and like rewarding. I was actually at one of their practices recently, where I was just kind of walking and watching some of the more experienced people who are actually on the show, who are developing themselves, to be able to compete at those high levels to see how they train, and it's pretty cool.
Okay, so there's not like per se classes or sessions of gym that you get to. You just have courses that are maybe simpler for the less advanced mid, and then of course you got the ones that can actually do the whole course. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, eventually, that's what we're looking to solidify these like residency programs, as well as being able to have our physical location, because then people will actually be able to come in for classes and training to help improve themselves in those different areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so anything else for the Ninja Project that you have coming up? Of course, expanding, growing the business, developing more. But is there a bigger plan, like an end game type of thing where y'all want to do, what y'all want to be at? Is it a show? Is it having brick and mortars all over the United States? What would that be?
Yeah, that's the idea. So at this point, we're more so focused on the sport focus of it, but there's also like a whole other section that like we've yet to really prioritize. It's going to be more entertainment. So
Mm.
the goal would be, so to speak, to be able to have a 50,000 square foot facility that has like the combination of like the sport ingrained with like entertainment services like virtual reality, mini bowling, looking to be able to
Cool.
have a kava bar there as well. And so yeah, it'll be a combination of different services to be able to bring people together.
That's neat. I like that
Yeah.
idea. When you were making your way over here, was there any two questions, anything that you were hoping, man, I hope he asked me about this, or I hope we cover this. Is there anything in mind that you have?
Um, it really hasn't been on my mind much until we started talking about it, but I can't help but feel somewhat like nostalgic about my career, just in terms of like training and just being able to what I was doing before working as a coach. And so, because today I have more of a priority in terms of like the business development, kind of like you mentioned before.
Yeah.
And so I think that when I was coaching before, I had a lot of other veteran coaches who I worked around. And I think, given the opportunity, I'm sure that they probably would have been more keen on like collaborating on, future endeavorments together as far as that goes. And so luckily today I get to do an avenue of that, so to
Yeah.
speak. And so, but I guess there's something to be said, like when you pour your heart and soul into something for so long, where it's like, this, everyone has a similar struggle, so to speak, in different areas or similar
Yeah.
areas as far as that goes. So I guess it makes you more empathetic, and
That's cool. So now you're the seasoned veteran. Now you're the one that's doing coaching and getting to develop those business. That's pretty cool. Running short on time. Can you tell me all your social media for yourself and for Ninja Project? Where can they find you? Where can people go look at? Is there a website, anything like that?
Yeah, so my personal social, you can find me at Athletic Grit Expert. That's going to be on Instagram. As far as a website for the business, you can find us on ninjaproject.com. And the same thing when it comes to the Instagram or Facebook, it's Ninja Project _Dallas.
Awesome. And again, any other projects that y'all have in mind right now as far as short term, maybe within a month or two of an event that you have going on for Ninja Project? Anything?
Yeah, we've got a lot of events going into October, a few with different cities.
Okay.
We've got some collaborative events that we're also doing as well.
Yeah, can you give us do you know any other details as far as where it's going to be at, or where it's going to happen in, or where can people go check it out?
Yeah, so we've got an upcoming event with the city of Grand Prairie. That's going to be October 2nd. I can't remember what I think it was. Can't remember what the theme for them was, but I know we have it coming up.
Find it on IG. Find it on IG. You'll find it there.
We're also doing a private event for a business. They're having a grand opening or a family development or family gathering, so to speak. And so they're bringing the course out as far as that goes. And we're looking to do be a part of the superhero event at Waters Creek in Allen. And so it's kind of
Nice.
off the immediate off the top of my head.
That's awesome. Again, check out the website. Check out the Instagram so you can get all the details where they're going to be at. Got it? Comprende? Okay, shout outs. Do you have any shout outs? Anybody you want to give a shout out? They've been helping you out throughout your career from the beginning to this point, to your business partners, to anybody that helped you develop, mentors, family, whatever.
Yeah, I think recently, they were clients first, but they've turned into friends now at this point, or at least, closer. We've grown closer as time has gone on. I can't help but think of Scott, Michael, Steve. They've been great, like mentors for me throughout my career. Just being able to help to provide like insight, and they've definitely helped to change my life. As far as that goes, I have my friend Asa, and Jordan. They were great for help, especially going through my health scare, just being supportive and just encouraging. And my business partner Carson, he's also been very supportive, just kind of through my health journey as far as that goes, and just our continuing collaboration with the business as far as that goes.
Awesome. Best of luck to y'all. What is an important lesson that you learn being a coach, being a personal trainer, everything that you've done that you would tell your younger self that will help somebody else out? What would that be?
Let me think. Don't let your current situation determine your future endeavors. You know, if you have something at the top of your mind, even if you've never seen it done before, do it. You know, it doesn't matter what the circumstances look like, doesn't matter what where you are at this point in your life, just do it. You know, it's kind of, I think MLK, there's a famous MLK quote is like, sometimes you just have to take the first step, you know, take the first step in faith.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes you don't see it, but you know that you have to take the steps in order to. You're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get to a place if you don't decide to start moving in that direction. You for certain are gonna stay in the same place if you don't take no steps.
Right.
So in order to get there, you gotta, even if it's one at a time, slowly take it. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Great advice. Well, usually throughout my day, sometime during the day, during the week, I'd say something along the lines. And I heard it from this gentleman. I really liked it. And not to scare me or frighten me or terrorize me, is I'm not immortal. I am mortal, and I will die one day. Just realizing my mortality, it's part of life. We're not here forever. Not to scare me, not to terrorize me, but more of like, I have limited time and I need to hurry up and stay busy and do stuff, be productive in things and do stuff. With that, I wish you a long, long, prosperous life. After everything's said and done, what do you want people to feel and think about your life?
I want people to look at my life and realize that, you know, given the circumstances of my earlier, like, let's say, childhood development, that I was able to overcome my certain obstacles in life, and I didn't allow that to deter me from being a staple in the world, and then just you know, perseverance and just having just grit, you know, perseverance, and just the mental fortitude to be able to not let your life, you know, bog you down, you know, whether it's, you know, being a byproduct of your circumstances, or you know, having naysayers in your life, you know, not allowing them to deter you from what you see, or, you know, you're envisioning in front of yourself.
Where do you think that grit comes from you? For you, where does it come from? Where do you draw from? Who influenced that younger you to be able to get and be able to, whenever time gets hard, you are able to grind and get it done?
Yeah. Well, you know, there was a woman I fell in love with when I was young, and, you know, my younger self versus who I am today, you know, completely different as far as that goes. And so it was kind of, when you had asked the question earlier about like your origin and, you know, kind of how you were grown up, I was really kind of the first step where I realized, you know what I mean, that like there are certain changes that I probably needed to make as far as that goes. And so, you know, that person had showed me nothing but like love and just support and adoration in ways that I'd never received. And, and it was kind of one of those things where, you know, she made me realize that, you know, there's a different outlook on life, you know what I mean, that I could be something different as far as that goes. And so, but it was obviously, you know, up to me to be able to do that. And so it took me a long time for me to be able to actually like make that a reality. But, you know, I know that it was because of that, that mindset, so to speak, you know what I mean? Just being unrelentless with your desire to be able to grow and change, that ultimately helped for me to be able to be who I am today.
Yeah. Sometimes those words stick around and they're always there, right? In the back of the mind, they don't ever leave you. They're already just bouncing around, and they keep you just keep going and realizing
Absolutely.
that if anything gets super dark or hard, those little words just keep bouncing them like, hey, you got this.
Absolutely.
And for whatever tonality, whatever it is, however which way they said it, it just lives with you, most of us, for the rest of our lives sometimes.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Thank you so much, Jose. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Again, when I sit down with you, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't think it was cool, right? That you had to go through that thing, but I thought it was amazing the way that you had to go through, but you still didn't lose hope. You saw the light at the other side of the tunnel after you get past all these dark moments, and not really, the doctors can't even tell you what's going on, but at the same time, you're set on your ways that no, that's fine, but I know there's other stuff. I know there's an underlying thing, and I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to find ways to get me better and get me back on track. After having a life and having a career that you put a lot of work into, to all of a sudden losing it all and having to rebuild it again with something even bigger, which is a ninja project and everything that you do with that. With that, Jose Benitez, you are a global Latin factor. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you, señor. O jovencito. This was another episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Remember to subscribe right now, what you're waiting for. And remember, we are just like you. We are humans. We are the spice in this melting pot that is the world. Till next time. Bus. Thank you very much for checking out this episode of the Global Latin Factor podcast. Make sure you go and subscribe to the channel and check out one of the other episodes that we have prepared for you. Thank you very much. Till next time.
Walks like a pero but in fact is a flamingo. Coming to Havana and reflecting.